Instagram at the same time. I'm not quite sure, but we're going to test this. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Let's see what happens. So today I wanted to talk a little bit. Hey, Jamie, it's good to see you. Hi, Ariana. All right. I want to talk a little bit about ongoing realizations I've had in my own business as a business coach working with therapists. And I wanted to talk about it and sort it through, talking it out here. One of the joys of being in private practice is that, to me, is the ability to create my own system. I don't know about you, but coming from nonprofit, coming from government work, the system is not set up for changes in our society and culture. There are things that are antiquated, things that don't make sense, things that are very oppressive. Now, building a private practice, that still exists. There is still a bigger system within our culture and our government that we're operating under. And we do have our licensure board. We do still have that system. But with private practice, we're able to circumvent some of the stuff that we didn't like about our other jobs. And I remember when I was going through spiritual direction, and this woman who was a priest was talking to me about, she was like, Kelly, think about, this comes from Phyllis Tillich. There's a rose, right? And there are people who are in that center of the rose. Hey, Carrie Ann, that are at the center of the rose, and they can affect change from inside. And then there's like, as the rose blooms, there's petals just barely hanging on. And I kind of see like private practice as those petals barely hanging on. Like we can tolerate, like we're trying to operate within at least, our ethical codes, our board's designation if we want to keep our license. But beyond that, we get to innovate and iterate our practices. But what can happen is if we haven't really explored the root of what we've learned about business, which has often come from our past experiences in other organizations, we will replicate the same things that are oppressive. And here's what I see being replicated. A lot of therapists are out there feeling broken. There's something wrong with me. I don't get my notes done. There's something wrong with me. I don't call every phone call back. I can't do this. I'm broken. I've heard it a lot. Now, what happens is that when you work in an agency, the agency says, I expect 100% compliance with documentation, or you have to have an 80% productivity rate, which means billable hours. But we're going to give you 120 cases. It's unreasonable. And yet, you as the clinician respond to that system, trying to contort yourself. I call it being Gumby, but maybe that ages me by saying Gumby. But like that character that moves around like a posable, like you can has wires in it and you can move it all around. Maybe I'm being ridiculous here. But we think that there's something wrong with us, that we can't make the quota. And then we start to realize, wait, this quota is ridiculous. But then the system says, try harder, try and make it work. And so we try and make it work. But the expectation is not in service of any, of really the clients anymore. It's in service of a grant. It's in service of the third party who's reimbursing. And so we are operating to keep this system going. And I used to tell my staff when I worked at the county, if you work overtime, you're telling like leadership that it's okay, that these expectations are unrealistic, and that you will do whatever you can to meet them. It's a hard place to be, right? Because you don't want to lose your job either, but also the expectations are unrealistic. And then when we start a business, how many of us have expectations that are really harsh and unrealistic? And so we take the oppressive kind of thing and that system that said, you need to change, there's something wrong with you, you need to do better, then we start saying the same thing about ourselves as business owners. But the beauty of being in private practice is that the business gets to fit you. So if you find yourself contorting and saying like, I can't fit all these clients in, I can't get these notes done, then the system needs to change. There's nothing wrong with you. I don't care if you're neurodivergent, if you come from a marginalized group, if this is new to you, or you've been doing therapy for 40 years. There's nothing wrong with you. The system needs to change to accommodate who you are in your brilliance, what is best for you. Because when you are taken care of, you are a better clinician, and that results in better outcomes for the clients. So there are some things that are, I don't want to say necessary evils, but things that do have to be done when we are in our practice, right? We do need to take notes. Do all therapists do that? No, but it's recommended. It could put your license at risk. So if you want to protect your license, you need to do notes. But there are a myriad of ways to get that done. And if you find yourself overwhelmed with notes, maybe you're seeing too many clients. Maybe it's not what needs to shift in the system. Instead of you saying like, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I need to do better, or I can't do this. Because I simply just don't believe that. Private practice allows you to shift the system in a way that you couldn't when you were an employee. Those expectations were unrealistic, and you could push back, but the system is created to drive you to change. You need to bend and flex. You can see this in other systems, not just in like government work or in, nonprofits. Why does the system want you to change? So then it doesn't have to change. It doesn't get questioned. It doesn't get challenged. And the system gets to sit back and watch you struggle and bend and sway. It doesn't want to change. It's going to do whatever it can to get you to make the difference so that it can keep the status quo. That's what you're leaving. And when you come into private practice, you make the system work for you, not the other way around. So if you find you're struggling, if you find there's things that you're doing that you don't like to do, the system can change. The model can change. The way you do your business can change. You don't have to change. You get to fully embrace who you are as a clinician, what makes you a great therapist. And then you get the business to move around for you. It fits into your life, into your neurodivergence, into your reality of how you live. Let's stop replicating the oppressive practices and ways of being that, we've been raised with. It's hard to do, but I think we can encourage each other to do that. And I think that's what we need to be, holding each other more accountable to embracing who we are. If you are judging your peers or telling them like, oh, you have to do it this way, why not love on them and say, what would help make it work for you? Or why do we even do these things? Is anyone challenging why we do certain things in our businesses and practices? Personally, for example, we carry on sliding scale fee standards from nonprofits that don't typically work or create equity in a private practice model. So what could giving back and creating access look like for a cash pay private practice that allows for equity? You get to create that instead of having a grant tell you how to have it done. That's exciting, right? And that's what I think is so different about business school is people want a cookie cutter, but you want the step-by-step because that's what you got in those other systems. But those other systems are oppressive. There is general guidelines, right? It's like when you're bowling and you have the bumper lane, like you got to get the ball somewhere in this lane, but either way you do it, you're going to hit some pins down. Yes, there are some general things you do need for sure, but how you get it done is going to be so unique to you. Because if you want to do this work without burning out, if you want to do this work with great clinical outcomes, the sooner you get to honoring yourself and what makes you unique, the way easier it's going to be. And the more fun it will be to honor yourself. So think about where are you struggling in your practice and ask yourself, can I make a change in the system of my practice to accommodate me and what I want? Or am I replicating something from past learnings that are not here in service of me? And that's why I love business school. There's a general roadmap, right? You go from vision to processes and organization into the finances, niching, marketing, analysis of your data, and back again. General roadmap. But how you do it must honor who you are and not replicate things that cause harm to you or the clients. The system doesn't care if it causes harm to you. It's a machine. It's been around a long time. It's got it down. It makes you do the work, and there's not a lot of innovation or room for it. And for those people who have chosen to stay in there and innovate, I applaud you. I think it's incredible. Like I said, that rosebud, there's people in the middle that are really tight and working to push things out, right? And that have the strength, that have the privilege and the ability to do that. Not all of us do. And some of us are those rose petals on the end that are still part of the system, but we are what make the system beautiful. Because we're doing it in our own unique way. And it is okay if, you want to stay in government and nonprofit and you love it, and that is where you are called to do this kind of innovation. Awesome. And it is okay if that is not for you and you want to do it in private practice and innovate there as well. But let's innovate and iterate to better instead of replicating things where the biggest replication I see is the oppression of the self. And start honoring who you are and what you need to do this work well, and build a business around that. Change your schedule to fit your life. Change your caseload size to fit your energy. Change who you work with so that you can shine. The doors to business school are open until Thursday. We'd love to have you. And no matter whether you work with us or someone else, or you have a community, I just want to encourage you that you deserve a practice that honors you, because that is the first step to getting great outcomes. Then you're walking your walk and talking your talk. And the clients then are given permission to do the same. It's not easy. That's why we have community. The bigger systems want to keep us together. They don't want us going rogue. But there is a community of therapists out there who value the innovation, who value the iteration of creating something new that's thoughtful, with outcomes in mind, and with taking care of your biggest resource in mind. Let me know your thoughts on this. And thank you for joining me. I hope that you're at least inspired and that you're starting to think about eliminating the oppression in your own practice and finding liberation through your business as you honor yourself and the outcomes that you provide for your clients. You deserve a business that fits you. See you next time. Bye. If I can end in both places.